Don't worry, I'll look for him.
You will? Thank you so much. Please find him.
Silence, girl. Do you want the children to hear you?
But night is coming. The monsters will return and...
Open sesame. Our first order of business: look for the little kid who's probably missing. Yeah, I know exactly where the kid is. We'll pretend that I looked all over the place. Ah, more codex. The Legend of Calenhad, Chapter 1. Prior to the crowning of King Calenhad, Ferelden was little more than a collection of independent Arlings and Terners that warred on each other constantly over petty matters. Calenhad was born in 510 Exalted as the third son of a high-ever merchant on hard times. He was eventually sent to a distant cousin, a poor young knight named Sir Foranan, who made Calenhad his squire and dog handler. As the tale goes, Sir Foranan and his squire became caught up in one of the wars of unity at the time. Arl Mirrodin was a strong but generally disliked man who was making a bid for kingship. Foranan's own lord, a young fool of an Arl named Tenedor, no older than Calenhad, was besieged by Mirrodin's forces at his castle, today known as West Hill. When Mirrodin called Tenedor out to parley, the young Arl asked for a volunteer from among the squires, someone who could masquerade as Tenedor in the parley party. Calenhad kneeled before Tenedor and asked for the honor. Much to Tenedor's and Sir Foranan's display, Calenhad immediately identified himself to Arl Mirrodin. When asked by the Arl why he was here, Calenhad explained that he had been asked to take the place of his lord. The Arl said that he had planned to kill Tenedor. Was Calenhad willing to die in his lord's place as well? Calenhad impressed Mirrodin and his allies by saying that he was. Mirrodin offered Calenhad a place as his own squire, but Calenhad refused, stating that if Mirrodin had planned on betraying the right of parley, he was no man of honor. Mirrodin's allies laughed at that, and Mirrodin himself conceded that Calenhad had a point. He allowed Calenhad to return to the castle safely and launched his final assault. During the assault, both Tenedor and Foranan were killed, but Calenhad found himself in one-on-one combat with Arl Mirrodin. In front of all Mirrodin's allies, Calenhad defeated the Arl and commanded he called off his armies. They all asked Calenhad who he professed to serve now, and if both his knight and his lord were dead, to which Calenhad replied that he would do as his honor bade him to, for he had nothing else. You are not a man known for your honor, Calenhad said, but I believe you wish to be. You allowed me to live once, and so now I do the same for you. Perhaps if more of our people lived by honor, we would learn to trust each other long enough to live together. And with that, Calenhad withdrew his sword. I am humbled by your words, Arl Mirrodin told Calenhad, dropping to one knee. To his allies, he shouted that he now knew he would never be king, but he knew who should be. With that, Mirrodin pledged allegiance to Calenhad, whom he named Terran and ruler of Tenedor's lands. From the Legend of Calenhad by Brother Heron, Chantry Scribe, 810 Blessed. So, is the Dragon Age history kind of like an anime? Because it sounds like Calenhad had Naruto's epic speech jutsu or something. At least, that's what I'm getting out of it. Or at least, I would say Naruto's, but in all seriousness, it's any shonen hero's speech power. It pretty much can say some kind of random speech and get people to at least listen to him.
What are you doing? All right, I'll come out. Please, don't hurt me. I'll go back to the Chantry if you want. I didn't mean any harm.
What's your name?
It's Bevan. My sister is Caitlin. She's probably at the Chantry looking for me.
Are you avoiding her?
No, I just didn't want to be in the Chantry anymore. Everyone's scared, and I want to be brave.
How is hiding in a dresser being brave?
I wasn't always in here. I hid when I heard you coming. Well, I shouldn't tell you. It's a secret.
Are you sure? Maybe I could help you.
You could. Alright, I guess. Father said I could have his sword when I grew up. It was Grandfather's. And Grandfather was a great dragon slayer. I thought, if I was brave like Grandfather, I could use his sword and kill the bad people who took Mother.
You don't think you're a bit too young to fight?
No. Well, maybe the sword was too heavy for me. I guess I'm not as strong as I thought I was.
You'll grow up eventually, don't worry about it.
That doesn't help us now. Caitlin says everyone's going to die tonight.
Maybe so, nothing is certain. Be brave, remember?
Yes, sir.
You should go back to your sister.
But Oh, alright. I guess. She'll be pretty mad at me. But I'll go.
I'm just going to go up here, not because I'm trying to, see, can't unlock that without a key. I just needed another codex entry. Unfortunately. It was then that he, cautionary tales for the adventurous. It was then that he realized he wasn't alone. The abandoned camp in front of him was unbelievably welcoming, like a mirage. The fire felt like a warm hand grabbing his heart. It reminded him of a previous life, so long ago when he was happy, running on the sunflower fields with his boy, the sun on his face, laying next to the fireplace with his beautiful wife in his arms. He felt a sharp pain in his heart. His thoughts shifted to that fateful day when everything changed. Blood was everywhere. He held the body of his dead wife in his arms. Around him, the ashes of his burned house fell like snow. The stench was terrible. It smelled like darkspawn. He grabbed his axe, touched the icy cold hands of his boy, and left. He would kill them. He would kill them all. The pain in his heart was unbearable. He opened his eyes and saw the second most terrifying thing he would see in his life. A shadowy wraith leaning over him, leeching his life away. Around him the camp was gone, replaced by something familiar, almost peaceful. Bones, death, and despair. He wondered if all his life had been an illusion, if he'd ever had a family. For a brief moment he felt relief. You can't lose something you've never had, but being this close to death brought clarity. He knew it was real. Everything else was the illusion. You could see a smile on his torn face. He had been waiting for this moment for a long, long time. He lifted his weak arms, grasped the demon's face, and kissed it. It felt like kissing a cloud made of sand and dust. Suddenly all sorrow left him, and with it the last bit of life he had. Before his limp body hit the ground, it was all over. He was finally free. From Cautionary Tales for the Adventurers by Brother Hermos of Gerharm, 794 Storm. Well, it seems it's time for dinner, and with that, I must leave you. So long.